Kingdom of Brunei Darussalam became the sixth official member of ASEAN after its independence in January 1984. The tiny kingdom, with a population of over 350,000 people, has been ruled since 1967 by Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah, whose royal dynasty dates back to the 4th century. The country's large oil and gas reserves have helped fuel the nation's growth and elevate Brunei's status as one of the richest countries in the world. Apart from its valuable natural resource, Brunei is also endowed with a rich cultural heritage, a tradition which is steadfastly maintained until today. Daybreak in Bandar Seri Begawan. Quiet and peaceful, punctuated occasionally by the sound of engine-powered boats crisscrossing the placid waterway. The majestic Omar Ali Saifuddin Mosque, named after the Sultan's late father, is an oasis of tranquility amidst the hustle and bustle of city life. Shrouded in an enigmatic veil of mist, it's a vivid reminder of the country's deep Islamic traditions. With its soaring minarets and golden dome, it's one of the clearest signs of the kingdom's opulence and immense wealth. Built in 1958, its elegance, splendor and glowing beauty is unsurpassed and has become a national symbol and a source of national pride for the people of Brunei.
It actually was the first mosque, the first big mosque to be built. This actually was built during the time when we have limited resources, with limited technology, limited material. But again, I'm very pleased to see that it was built about almost 50 years ago, and until now, you can see that the architecture still remain, as evergreen, you can call it,
57-year-old architect Mr. Idris Abbas left his well-paying government sector job some 20 years ago to set up his own architectural firm. He's been awarded many multi-million-dollar projects, including a new palace for the Sultan, which he's not ready to reveal, worth an estimated $100 million. He reckons that Islamic symbols such as mosques are important to the country as they reflect the identity and culture of its people.
Normally the mosque will be the first one to be built in any Muslim community, which serve as a physical and spiritual center. This actually create a kind of environment where people have that kind of environment of Islam exists in this country.
Islam plays a pivotal role in the lives of most Bruneians, which transcends beyond just the country's physical symbols and glorious architecture. It's indeed the way of life of its people and key guiding principles which encompass almost every facet of the nation's existence.
Islam plays a very dominant part in the social life of the Brunei people because it permeates the social cycle of the life of the people.
Age-old traditions do not fade away easily in Brunei. This cluster of water village, which clings precariously to the past, has been hailed as the Venice of Asia and Brunei Darussalam's major landmark for hundreds of years. Much of the village's traditional outlook remains its hallmark and is almost virtually untouched by the winds of change that have swept across much of this tiny kingdom. Dr. Abdul Latif Ibrahim has written a thesis on the water village. He regards these houses on stilts as a living monument, a historical legacy which has to be preserved at all times. After all, the water village was the seat of power of the Brunei royalty during its formative years, and numerous historical events can be traced back to it.
The fact that it has survived for more than 700 years or 7 centuries and is still considered to be a living culture. The second thing is that it is considered to be the biggest settlement on water anyway you can find in the world. At one time, the British regarded as Venice of the East. Venice is part of the land, whereas Kampung Aris is on the water.
The rustic charm of this village has persuaded many, like 74-year-old village head Haji Mokti Muhammad Saleh, to plant his roots here. He sings praises for Brunei's king each day, with just the sound of boat engines challenging his voice as they crisscross his watery neighborhood. Haji Mokti was born and raised in the water village. And for him, and many others like him, there is no place like home in the water village.
Keselesaan tinggal di kampung air. Kalau diorang menangkap ikan, senang turun saja. Kalau tinggal di kampung air, terus pergi perahu, jalan pergi pantai Muara ataupun pantai Pelumpung dan seterusnya, diorang senang tangkap ikan. Lagi udara yang meniup mengembus-ngembus itu terlampau, perasaan terlampau siok, mendayu-dayu perasaan hati. Dan bertambah lagi kalau bulan mengambang 14 hari bulan, air pasang, memang terkenang masa dulu.
The mystical touch of traditional music is a welcome treat to villagers who often congregate to mark and celebrate important events such as weddings or other religious ceremonies. The familiar sound of the gongs and other percussion instruments suddenly transform this quiet village into a cultural oasis and gives the place a real buzz it needs. Village headman Haji Mokti is able to not just spread his respect and love for his unique home, but also maintain his charm, which he often demonstrates through his songs and martial arts skills. At 74, Haji Mokti has lost little of his moves and remains eager to show off his martial arts prowess to try and outmaneuver his opponent. It's this lively and colourful atmosphere, as well as a strong sense of community spirit and unity among the villagers here, which have drawn his heart and emotions closer to the water village.
Acara ini memang meriahkan suasana pada penduduk kampung, dan satu selaku menghubungkan rapat penduduk kampung dan mukim diadakan semacam ini. Jadi bukan saja ini, kalau diadakan majlis berkahwin, memang diadakan macam ini supaya tidak hapus kebudayaan.
It is a living culture, people staying there. And it is something that has never been seen by people from outside. So I think there is still a question of preserving not only as cultural identity for Brunei Malay, it is also a historical identity for the Brunei in terms of its related affiliation to the past and the present.
Brunei's raw and unspoiled nature is a shining example of its natural beauty. Haunting, yet strangely beautiful and deeply captivating. It harbors about 4,700 square kilometers of rainforest and associate ecosystems. In fact, the country lies beneath 80% of tropical forest cover, with roughly 60% of the land nurtures primary rainforests. The rainforests house some of the most richest and diverse ecosystems, an untamed wilderness and natural heritage which the government is committed to preserve.
Well, the forest is part of our lung. Okay, it gives us oxygen, clean air, fresh air. If we don't have that one, there'll be a lot of erosions, a lot of things. If you can see in other countries, in other developing countries, things are happening. But in Brunei, we are lucky in a sense that we manage to control our forests and conserve it in what we would like it to be.
The rainforest's undisturbed natural heritage and astounding diversity offers abundant forms of plant and animal life unique to Borneo. And the good thing is, all of its natural attractions are within easy reach of the contemporary luxuries of the capital.
If you compare to other countries, to go to the forest in Brunei is just within a walking distance. It's not very far. You just drive for an hour or less than an hour, you'll reach the forest. If other countries, you need a few hours, you need to walk a long distance, and for Brunei it's quite easy. You just get a car or you can walk along there and you'll reach the forest.
The longboat ride down a winding jungle river, surrounded on all sides by pristine rainforests, makes the journey to Brunei's rainforest an unforgettable adventure, especially for nature lovers. The government seems intent on preserving large tracts of virgin jungle for the sake of both biodiversity and ecotourism. Nearly half falls within protected areas, including nature reserves, conservation areas, protected forests and national parks, which are some of the finest in Asia. Tasek Merimbun is probably one of the more internationally known parks in Brunei. The lake is part of a geological formation which is uplifted from a shallow sea just about 7 million years ago. It is the only one in the country to be declared as an ASEAN National Heritage Site way back in 1984, which has a total area of about 8,000 hectares.
The rainforest is becoming smaller and smaller. I think this is very important to understand. And if we don't know how to appreciate this, I'm sure the importance of the rainforest will be disappear. And of course, for Tasek Merimbun itself, very important because it is a very, a sensitive habitat for many, protected species.
53-year-old Samhan Nyawa has been active in the area of conservation work since the early 80s. Now a curator of natural history with Brunei Museum, as well as manager of the park, has produced several books covering topics such as forest habitats, healing qualities and intrinsic value of a wide variety of plant species to the indigenous communities. Tasek Merimbun is one of the oldest rainforest ecosystems in the region. It's being kept at its primary stage and is one of the oldest settlements in Brunei, going back some 500 years ago.
Tasek Merimbun itself, it is unique because this is where we found the special species of broodbats, what we call it, white-collared broodbats. It's endemic to Merimbun, It's not found elsewhere in Borneo. This is a very important thing. They are the habitat for, for many species that are endangered and protected by law, both national and international. So that is why it is very important to do that, for this park to be preserved,
The park also holds a special importance because this is a nesting site for many rare animals and wild birds. Amid growing concern over the gradual decimation of tropical rainforest, experts are now flocking to Brunei to document the astounding biodiversity. The government, on the other hand, is doing all it can to ensure that its forest reserves remain at their pristine state. The rainforest is seen as an invaluable source of knowledge and a reservoir of untapped resources if only enough research is done to discover its real value.
There were about 2,000 species, but we don't know the chemistry, which could be one of those resources for medicinal plant and other things like food or source of food, drinks, and other things, which is not well known. I think this is a new area that we need to venture into, So a lot more knowledge need to be, discovered, in the rainforest itself.
Nestled on the banks of the Brunei River docks is the Nurul Iman Palace. It boasts some 2,000 rooms, all beautifully decorated, including this majestic throne hall. The sprawling Islamic-style building glows like a giant pearl at night and is home to one of the world's richest men, Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah, who hosted several grand weddings, including Asia's grand wedding of Crown Prince Muntadi Billah and Dayangku Sara Saleh a few years ago. It was celebrated in a lavish and extravagant manner, befitting the image of the royalty and its affluent status. These elaborate royal traditions have been kept alive for hundreds of years. And to most Bruneians, ceremonies such as royal weddings have always been eagerly anticipated, as they give them a rare, unfiltered peek of the kingdom's royal customs and conventions.
Royal traditions in Brunei is a manifestation of cultural identity. For Brunei, especially those related to the royal traditions, which are related also to the monarchical system in Brunei. These traditions like celebration of His Majesty's birthday, of the royal wedding, are indication of cultural and national heritage which Brunei's practice is still being performed today. It has been the tradition that this state of rejoice is a unifying factor between the ruler and His Majesty's subject. These royal traditions will go on for sometimes because royal traditions have permeated through the social life of Brunei. This paraphernalia, I think, is not seen or obtainable in other countries, especially the Western societies. It is also interesting to note that the Brunei Constitution specifically prescribe the importance of tradition and custom to be implemented and practiced by the society of Brunei.
Beneath the surface of economic prosperity and modernity lies a rich culture, which is being practiced at the highest level. Brunei is indeed an embodiment of the Malay cultural heritage, traditions and lifestyles, which are integral to the country's much treasured offerings. While it continues to respond to future challenges, these sacred and deeply rooted values and traditions have withstood the test of time.
Brunei is a country that adapts modern time, but still practices traditions that are centuries old. And this is what we like to show the world, that the balance between modernity and tradition is being well practiced in Brunei Darussalam.
Dusk is approaching in Bandar Seri Begawan, and the call for prayer echoes at every corner of the city. The Jamek Asri Hassan al-Bolkiah Mosque symbolizes another bold and symbolic statement about the strength of Islam in Brunei, showering its blessings over this small kingdom. It's a gift from the Sultan to the people. Haji Mokti is still jealously guarding this old wooden house from the currents of modernization. Most of his 7 children have moved out of the water village and found comfort living on land. But Haji Mokti finds it hard to uproot himself and sever his links with the past, because the past has given him so much happiness, comfort, and a sense of nostalgia, which are hard to erase, but will only grow stronger with time.
Kalau sudah anak berpindah ke darat, saya sendiri pun merasa sedih, dan melihat dia berpindah pun air mata pun bercucuran untuk melihat. Jadi kalau di waktu malam kenang-kenangan lah, selalu anak berkumpul, kita ramai-ramai itu tengok. Tapi kalau sudah tengok yang satu sudah pindah, jadi mengenangan sampai 1 minggu, 2 minggu. Memang selesa juga tinggal di kampung air. Tidak ada rasa untuk meninggalkan kampung air. Jadi kadang-kadang yang anak baru ini dia cakap orang tua itu zaman kuno. Tapi zaman kuno orang tua memang dia punya keadaan itu selesa.
Brunei Darussalam is a city that vibrates with the mysterious grandeur of its past. It's an aesthetic amalgamation of architectural landmarks that serve as a background to an undying repository of cultures and heritage points which are larger than life. Together, they serve as a repertoire of spiritual sustenance and a source of pride and inspiration for Bruneian society, which will live on for years to come.